na 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 na. Da-da-da, na 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 na. Ba-da-na, na 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 na. Bum 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 bum. All right, we are live. Anyone know that song? It's the Dropkick Murphys, where I'm from in Boston, and they were like an Irish punk band that got really famous, and they used to get to their studio at 7 a.m. every day to rehearse. And the music studio, they said, like, no one in the history of their studio, no band in the history of their studio had ever gone to the studio at 7 a.m. You know, musicians stay up in the middle of the night, and they would rehearse. All the musicians would want to rehearse at 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. So the studio said never in the history of the studio had any band like showed up at 7 a.m. every day, and they used to rehearse for 8 hours straight. And what was their secret? They're a bunch of like working class type of Irish guys, and all their friends were working, you know, usually probably like moving jobs and landscaping and Irish Boston, salt of the earth kind of jobs, and they felt guilty because they weren't like working all day, so they just they decided to make their band just like a job, you know, 8 hours a day, punch in 7 a.m., punch out at 3 p.m., and they became obviously one of the biggest bands in American history. And so it's a big thing in Breslov that we have to put in our ultimate effort. We have to put in whatever we want to do in life. We have to put in our ultimate effort, and we also have to pray for blessing from God. It's not just one or the other. The American way is more just to put in your ultimate effort and maybe pray to Jesus or just think it's all about you. And neither of those is a good way to put in our ultimate effort and to at the same time give it up to God. We have to know that no matter what our efforts are, without God's blessing, it's not going to work. You know, not a single thing in the Bria, not a single thing in all the creation works without God's blessing. You know, I could have the best intentions, I could be the best person, and if God doesn't will something to happen, it doesn't matter. You know, how many times we have the experience of we're trying to do something with all our might, and it just doesn't happen. So it's because God didn't will it. You know, so we have to humbly, you know, ask for God's blessing in whatever we do. So I heard about some kind of high level healer that was working for a psychiatric hospital, and contrary to the usual way of doing it, he sat in a room, he sat in a sealed off room, and he asked everyone for he asked the psychiatric hospital for the files of all the patients, and he sat in the room with the files, and he would just meditate on the patients one by one. He never met them live, and he'd meditate on the patients one by one, and he'd study what all their problem was, what their bad habits were, what their deepest problem was, and then he'd find in himself what he was doing in himself that was like that. Say there was someone who's a drug addict and he was a very angry person and he fought with his father and mother or something. The healer would meditate on himself, like how the healer could improve his own relations with his parents at a deeper and deeper and deeper level. In other words, instead of trying to externally fix the patient, he would see the patient's problem, and then he'd within himself, he'd meditate on how he could change that problem within himself. Do you understand? And then he would just cure the people one by one without ever having met them, right? So this is a thing we come into in Breslov all the time. Like when we see a problem with someone else, rather than trying to change them, we have to find where we have a version of that problem inside ourselves, and we have to try to change that in ourselves. And then if we do, naturally they're gonna have some kind of improvement because we're connected to them. It's a lot more nonviolent, right, than going around trying to change everyone. I'm known as someone who tries to change everyone. So, you know, these classes are for myself. I'm coaching myself. Um, the Kabbalah is about God wants to give us all the blessings every moment of every day, just like a father who wants to give their kid anything they possibly can. And we block God's light in different ways. We block God's light in different ways, and all the tikkunim, all the corrections we can do in the Torah, it's about how to unblock God's light. For instance, in a sunny day, if there's clouds, all that has to happen, we don't have to make the sun. The sun's already there. The sun's shining, and all we have to do is wait for the clouds to move, and then we're going to have light, right? So that's the same. That's the same metaphor for our life. Anyone who's listening on Facebook Live, you can write comments. I'm watching here. Comments or questions, especially short and to the point. So God is there. God is there, and God's ready to give us everything we need: inner peace, a soulmate, an improved marriage, success in business, on and on. God's ready and eminently able to give us anything we need. It's our job to remove the blockages to God's giving it, right? One of my main things is to teach breathing, and with breathing, everyone has lungs. For the most part, everyone has 2 lungs, thank God. And breathing is a good metaphor for this, like that the breath is happening 24 hours a day, and all we have to do is start to work with it. We don't have to go look for anything. It's already inside us, right? It's already inside us, and all we have to do is develop our mastery of the breath. It's already there. We don't have to go get something. When I work with people and they're healing, that they almost always feel like they have to go somewhere else and get something somewhere else, And there's some of that usually, but it should really only come after we work with whatever we have already. And if we can't do the job, Janie Markham asks, how do you remove the blockage? How do we move the blockage? Okay, so one thing is, everything, every single aspect of our life is a different version of removing the potential blockage to all the blessing we could be getting right now. And it applies systematically to every single part of our life. Say we hate someone in our life, that our hatred of them makes a big blockage to receiving God's light, right? Say we overeat every day, that makes a great blockage to receiving God's light, and on categorically through everything, A lot of people, they get excited when I talk to them, and they say, where should I start? Start with the breathing, Go to nature every day and just breathe fully in nature every day. Part of God's light is just the energy that's in the air. Melissa Heather Katz, great to see you too. Yeah, I took a long hiatus from Facebook. I made a little promise to one of my rabbis that I'm going to only use it an hour a day, because like most of us, we just get carried away on Facebook. Whoever wants to take this hour a day challenge with me, I think it's a great thing. You say Facebook, 1 hour a day max. 1 hour a day max. So speaking of which, if you like these classes and you want to be in touch with, because I'm going to try to only use Facebook an hour a day, please contact my email instead of writing me on Facebook, because it's not going to happen. Geltman99@gmail.com. So an hour a day is not a lot of time. So please, in terms of contact me, please contact my email or my telephone instead of writing me on Facebook and these long conversations go in circles. Okay. Back to now. If I'm only being on Facebook an hour a day, does that include Facebook Live? Probably should. We got to get strict here. I'll figure out the rules for my own thing as I go. So, part of how we can open up to all of God's blessing is we can make peace with everyone in our life, and we can make peace through being okay with being wrong. Especially the key is when other people think that they're right and we're wrong, even if we know that they're wrong, that's the most important time where we can just say, I'm probably wrong or I'm wrong. It's the thing about lying to make peace. Say someone says you're wrong. In that situation, it might be okay to say, okay, yeah, I think you're right. I'm wrong. Even if you're thinking inside, no, they're wrong. It's not going to make peace. So what's the point? Unless they're asking us, do you think I'm wrong? You know what I'm saying? So just to be okay with being wrong, especially when we're not wrong. That makes a lot of peace. And the more peace, the more the blessings can come in. Back to the breathing exercises. Everyone knows from breathing exercises, the more relaxed you are, the better you breathe. What people don't know is you get even more benefit through relaxing while you're going through healthy pain. Like in the Qigong exercises, we'll hold the pose for an hour, hold our arms up for an hour. It hurts like anything. And then we relax more and more and breathe slower and deeper through the pain. The pain opens up the channels, right? We have to think greater than we feel. I'm sourcing some stuff today from Gedalia Fenster's class. I'm here at the Breslov Miami Center, and I've been teaching class usually once a week, and he teaches the other mornings at 7 a.m. And his classes are quite sharp. He runs a big drug rehab, so he's got a very very broad mind of modern therapies and Breslov, and he's a businessman. He's quite a special guy. So he said today, in today's class, we need to think greater than we feel. So, for instance, someone wakes up in the morning, I feel terrible. I think today might be a terrible day. They're programming their neurons to just like have a bad day, right? They're programming every cell in their body to have a bad day. If someone wakes up and they say, if they really feel really bad, and they say, okay, it is going to be a great day. Then we're programming ourselves to rise out of where we are. Gedalia was saying today the milk, mother's milk. I guess science has proven that mother's milk stops when the mother is stressed, right? A nursing mother gets stressed, and her milk will subside or stop. And he was saying, God's milk is the blessing, the material shefa, the spiritual shefa, the blessing that God's giving us at all times. It's like milk. We're like suckling from God's breast all the time. And if we get stressed out, the milk can't flow. Now, when other people treat us poorly, and here's back to another class I uploaded today. When other people treat us poorly, we might have impulse to go against them, and this is one of the biggest mistakes we can make. When people treat us poorly, that's just the symptom of whatever's going on. Maybe we treated them poorly in a past life. Maybe we forgot something we did to them before. Maybe we treated someone else poorly on the other side of the planet, and somehow this person is coming back to pay that debt. Whatever the case is, when we're treated poorly, we deserve it on some level. And so we just got to accept it, and that makes peace. Now, we can obviously try to work with it in a savvy, kind of cool way, but to make more conflict when we're treated poorly, that's going to block our shefa, Peace and prosperity are closely linked. Ehud Giladi, Shalom Aleichem. Peace and prosperity are closely linked. So we don't really care about the symptoms of anything here. We care about the roots. So when someone's treating us poorly, okay, that's the symptom of something. Who knows what? Who knows what huge thing led up to someone treating us poorly? The fact is, we're training to be at a mature level where we don't react to little things like that. We can laugh it off. We can walk away. But the key is we only care about the roots of everything, to fix things at the roots. So if someone's treating us poorly, okay, there's a lot leading up to it. We're not going to worry about fixing it in the moment by struggle, by conflict, right? What was that ping? All right, I'm not such a computer expert. It's a ping here. Okay. The suffering that God gives us, there's a reason for every single suffering we go through, and it's to clean us out on some level. It's to build our vessels, to build our, like, hold greater difficulty, right? And Rabbi Arush, his whole thing, he's kind of like the master of giving thanks for anything, you know. And so if we give thanks immediately when something happens, then we're turning the bad thing into, like, all the potential good that's inherent in it. That's why Rabbi Arish's derech is just to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, someone spits in our face, thank you, thank you, thank you. Someone fires us, thank you, thank you. Someone dumps us, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you know, we have to be a little careful about saying it to people's face. If they're really mad at us, we say thank you, thank you. They might blow up even more. I have a bad habit of saying to people, you know, come on, bring it on. That's probably not the best, you know, that's probably not the highest version of this. So Rabbi Nachman in Likutei Moharan, his main sefer, his main book, he says that all mental problems come from a fallen faith, from a fallen emunah. So someone doesn't believe in the primacy and supremacy of the God of the Jews, their emunah is going to be fallen. They're going to have some kind of misunderstanding, and that misunderstanding leads to all sorts of problems: depression, anger. We all have problems in life. Obviously, it's whether we keep reacting to the problems. That's the thing, you know. One guy can get fired from his job and say, "All right, I have room to do something better now." Another guy can get fired from his job and become suicidal and depressive and get divorced, you know. Someone I was connected to told me they're gonna jump off a bridge once to kill themselves, and a 12-year-old boy, like, came up to them and talked them out of it, you know. It's a wonderful thing. Okay. Gedalia in his class was saying that adrenal insufficiency comes from, like, overproduction of adrenal, and then we become depleted. If we're overproducing our adrenal function, our kidneys are firing off. It's because we're in the fight or flight state, right? If we're in too much of a fight or flight state, then we drain our resources. And this is back to emunah. If we believe, you know, God's in charge, everything God is doing is good for me, all the problems in my life, God is giving me as a kind of like school. God's giving me a kind of school to go through, you know. If we have this attitude, then we're in a place of faith, you know. If we're in a place of faith, we can relax. We're like, all right, it's cool. If we keep reacting to everything, where our adrenals are firing off, we just get drained. Our kidneys are overproducing. Why is coffee bad for us? Because it causes our kidneys to overwork, to fire off too much, and then we our adrenals get drained, our kidneys get drained, our energy supplies get drained. So we want to be cool, keep it cool. And that's why, you know, most bosses you'll meet, not all of them, most bosses you meet are very cool people. Preserve, keep things in order, make peace with people. Gedalia was talking about the placebo effect. When someone say someone has a problem, a great doctor they really believe in offers them a placebo. The minute the person sees the placebo, they think, "Oh, great, here's my healing," and their neuroplasticity or whatever starts firing off all the positive things, like, I'm going towards healing. Basically, the person taps into emunah, like, it's going to be okay. then their body and their mind start going into the self-healing process, right? That's kind of like the science of placebo. Now, the confusing thing is in Torah medical law, there's some isurim, there's some placebo can be forbidden because it's seen upon as like a form of tricking someone. You're not allowed to do trickery in medicine. So this is something that's confusing to me. I always thought, if a placebo works, who cares? But in my study of Torah spiritual medical law, I found out that it's not so simple. Placebo can be a problem anyhow. We could get into that deeper. So Gedaliah said we want to go with the flow, and that's the heavenly flow. In other words, God is some kind of like plan for each of us. Every day there's a certain amount of things that just are going to happen how they happen. It doesn't matter what we want. So he's saying if we get in line with what God wants for us, then like a surfer, we can ride it more. Now I think a problem with that theory could be sometimes God wants us to go through suffering. The New Age like abundance theory. There's something in the Christians I think called the abundance ministry or something. It's all about how God wants everyone to be incredibly successful and rich. There can be a problem with this way of looking at it because God obviously wants some of us sometimes to go through hell to clean something out in ourself, in our life. You see where I'm going with that? It's a little tricky, but okay, whatever. A little too complex for our class here. If we focus on a problem, then we grow the problem. If we focus on a solution, then we grow the solution, right? And Emunah is like a tikkun klali, like a complete solution for all the problems all at once. Is that a false teaching? Janie, clarify the question. Thanks. Emunah is it's a bedrock solution for all the problems because we know like it's gonna be okay. Right? Why do kids cry? Kids cry when they're not sure it's gonna be okay, and then the parents come along and they say it's gonna be okay, and the kid's like, oh, okay, cool, So the problem with adults is a lot of us are crying inside all the time. Like we feel like it's not gonna be okay. We're crying inside. And then we repress the tears, and then we have a double problem of like these oppressed, built-up emotions. So, much better just to cry before God and say, God, is it going to be okay? And then we get the message from God, it's going to be okay, and then we can relax. And the relaxation is half the problem. Every single holistic therapy you can find out there, I don't think with a single exception, about half of the therapy is how to get towards the deepest relaxation. Okay, Janie asks about God just wants to hand us wealth. That's a good question. I think off the top of my head, I'd say no. God obviously wants us to go through whatever we have to go through. I mean, God gives us a problem. If we do all the right things in the Torah, we'll have blessings and wealth and abundance, but it doesn't mean there won't be. I can answer that question. I would say, I think God probably wants long-term wealth and success for everyone. No, it's that you can't really answer it because there's all sorts of stories of tzaddikim that like took a vow upon themselves to be poor in order to atone for their community's problems. You know what I mean? It's a deep question, but whatever. The simple version is, God wants us to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. God wants us to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Mochin de kadnut in Breslov means when our consciousness is constricted. When someone's like cosmic, their mind is open, they're open to possibilities, open and happy. When someone is mochin de kadnut, it means the mind is constricted consciousness. They can't see a bigger picture. They're closed in. And Gedaliah was saying that's like a bad mood. That's the same as saying a bad mood. And so there's a fine line here. Most of the modern therapies, they say like get in touch with your emotions. That's good. That's great. I'm all for that. The fine line is the split second that we're in touch with our emotions, say we get in touch with our sadness, that split second, okay, we're in touch with it, and then we can start cultivating the happiness. A lot of these therapies, they're getting in touch with the emotions and sitting in the problem and compounding the problem by sitting in it. You know what I mean? If someone falls in the dirt, they can say, okay, I fell in the dirt. Now I'm getting up and I'm going in a better direction. Or they can fall in the dirt and say, oh, I'm in the dirt. It's so bad. I wish I didn't fall in the dirt, etc., etc. So that's back to the beauty of being wrong. The beauty of being wrong. Because where do we get in a lot of fights with people? When we want to be right. And if we can get psyched about them thinking we're wrong, what's going to touch us? So many of our bad moods is, oh, they think I'm wrong. They're making fun of me. They're talking behind my back. Who cares? Eliezer Sion, man. Shalom Aleichem. Long time. Eliezer Sion has an amazing raw food company in Israel. Everyone should buy his products. Meir Goldson, shalom. In higher martial arts, when someone attacks us, we use their attack to like absorb the energy and then come back and hurt them. So that's like a middle level martial art. In the higher level martial arts, we absorb their attack and we just like kind of make friends with them, lift them up. And that's more, we're going for this higher level here. So when someone gives us something nasty, we're all going to have an opportunity today, I'm sure. Every single one of us will have some opportunity for something hard to come our way. And in that moment, we give thanks. We open up our consciousness. We say, okay, God's given me this nice challenge here. And instead of hurting the person, we just use the opportunity to take the situation to a higher level. Okay, so anyone have any thoughts before we start to close up here? Facebook Nation. There's a chance I'm just going to stay in America if there's enough kind of interest in what I'm about. So it's around the time in my visit here to start deciding, do I want to stay here and work on things here in America, or do I want to go back to the Holy Land? So if you want to influence me in either direction, now's a good time to start to do it. And this Breslov Center in Miami is pretty special. I think it should basically be something of a template to create these all around America. Like I said in yesterday's class, like to put them in every hippie city would kind of maybe be the perfect starting point. Who can appreciate the whole in Breslov, the main homework assignment, we could say, or one of the main homework assignments is to go to nature every day alone and talk to God in nature. Who can really appreciate that kind of thing more than the hippies? Hippie cities, Seattle, Portland, Austin, Texas, Brattleboro, Vermont, Burlington, Vermont, and so on. Asheville, North Carolina. I lived a lot of these hippie cities. Janie says, I think America could use wisdom like this. All right, yeah, Baruch Hashem. If you want to help keep me here, be a part of it. Be a part of it. One way you can be part of it is spread these videos to the ends of the earth. Spread my television ministry. This center in Miami is pretty special. Pretty special little scene. And Rav Berland told, I think there's a couple people I know here, that he wants to have Breslov houses in every, there should be a Breslov center, a Breslov house in every city in America, And it's just kind of natural, Chabad has paved the way for us to come and share what we have. And, it's obviously going to be, there's obviously going to be a little bit of a turf war here because, Chabad has spread out everywhere in America. And Breslov is the next wave. And, how can it not be but a turf war? Now, there's some kind of confusion about this, but I always try to clear this up by saying, the Alter Rebbe, who was the first of the 7 Chabad rabbis, and Rebbe Nachman, they had a big connection. I studied everything I could find about their connection in life. They had a very deep, big connection, which I've told stories about before. And the simple way of clearing this up is that, if the founder of Chabad had believed more in Breslov, he would have become Breslov. If Rebbe Nachman had believed more in Chabad, he would have just become another Chabadnik, right? So it's okay that there's these different. One person told me they're like divisions of God's army. In the army, you have the Air Force. I mean, in the military, you have the army, the Air Force, the SEALs, the Secret Service. They're all part of the same army, but they're different divisions. So that's okay. We can potentially have different divisions in God's army. Chabad is like one division. Breslov is like one division. The question is how we can all work together in the best way. And my personal belief is that when Mashiach comes, it's more like unifies or whatever. The Rambam says we're not going to know exactly what the Mashiach thing until he comes, but a lot of us, like me, think Rob Berland, my rabbi Rob Eliezer Berland. A lot of us think that he might very well be the Mashiach. I don't know. I don't know a better choice. If you know a better living choice, key me in. So maybe the Mashiach already came. He's completely larger than life. I uploaded another couple videos today. One of them is a real short one where I'm talking about kind of my 2 years I spent with Rob Berland and how epic it was. How epic. Okay, and yeah. So anyone, any closing comments, statements? I'm getting a little nervous here because if I only allowed to have an hour on Facebook a day, a class is short. But you notice, I noticed a lot. People who live more on the internet, there's some like disconnect when you interact with them in real life. They sort of forgot more of how to interact in real life, And then people that are like offline all the time, they're almost always much more down to earth, So we have to take this internet thing very carefully. If we're going to use it, we have to use it like a surgical tool. And if we're going to use it at all, Hag Sameach, Sharita, Melissa, Heather, Katz, thanks for going live. All right, thank you for coming. Everyone, thanks a lot for watching my videos, and spread them around, please. Okay, so I'm going today to meet one of the most successful healers in Miami, and this healer happens to have a very deep interest in Torah and Israel, this kind of thing. So maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow, how that went. It's very unusual. It's very unusual that I'll meet like a non-Jewish healer that's got a serious, deep interest in Torah. And that's part of why I'm thinking of staying in America, because the holistic movement in America is cooking. It's cooking, and America just seems like it's like a field that's like ready to be planted with all the seeds of Breslov, And my particular niche is in these two things, and my Hebrew's pretty bad. And my Rav sent me to Miami. The last 6 or 7 times I talked to him, he told me to come to Miami until Passover. It was the plan. So now I'm thinking about if I should ask him about staying on in America. Dr. Glassman, what's up, dude? Check out Dr. Senki. All right, thanks. If you can remind me that. Yeah. Okay, I can already feel like the weird disconnect of being in Facebook land here, so I'm going to get off. And anyone's welcome to call me 24 hours a day on my cell phone in America, and you can leave a message there. I also have my cell phone still left on in Israel, so you can leave messages there because I need the minimal time on this crazy Facebook. Ugh. Just like you can feel the bad vibes, not from you guys, everyone, all the people here, just in general. It's just like this whole portal to weirdness, A portal to weirdness. Um, yeah. Okay. God bless you. And everyone should be blessed with everything good, wealth, beauty. Rob Berlin said something that you just can't believe he said the other day. He said, "Do I dare to repeat it?" He said, "The more, I don't know, I'll get in trouble for this kind of stuff. Whatever." He said it publicly. He said, "The more beautiful a woman is, the less intelligent, the less intelligent she is. The more beautiful a woman is, the less intelligent she is." And just kind of goes with like, the normal things is you pray for beauty and wealth and fame. That's like the normal, so like American prayer, so to speak, right? With the regular American prayers, the prayer for beauty, fame, and wealth, right? And so obviously it's like a shallow kind of way of going about it. Jeremy Schiller, what's up? Obviously it's kind of a shallow way of going about our tikkun, our ultimate rectification in life. So Rob Berlin the other day he said the more the more the more the more beautiful a woman is, the less intelligent she is. He says all sorts of things that no one else could say. Okay, Chama Silver, long time, shalom. Okay, and yeah, this might be a regular time after the morning prayers here in Breslov at around 9. This might be a regular time for me to come live. Okay, God bless you, peace, love. Zvika Dorn sells cars in Jerusalem. Great person, buy his cars. Okay, bye.